Good morning, trading world. It is March 11, 2022, and this is my pre-market outlook and technical analysis for day trading the SPY. Running a little bit behind, but I'm going to try to speed through it. The title for today's outlooks: Peace Talks Make It All Better. The market is all rainbows and lollipops now. And getting into the outlook, before I get into the outlook, I guess I have a little rant, especially about the title. The market is all rainbows and lollipops now. Come on out and buy you some. Man, if y'all don't get the... Oh, I almost lost it for a second, but... You mean to tell me peace talks have cured all the zombie companies, all the inflated PE ratios, the near decade of massive money printing by central banks, the nearly non-existent interest rates, the nearly record-breaking inflation that is heading towards stagflation, the supply chain restraints, and the real estate bubble up? Let me remind you that in the pre-market video I did for March 9th, 2022, I spoke of a huge holding pattern. The exact quote is as follows: until we break out the lower end, 395, or the top end projected at 455, we are still in consolidation. So therefore, we could have these large rallies that don't mean anything. End quote. Rallies like this are routine in bear markets. It's something that we have to get used to. We should be looking at the VIX to tell us one of two things. One, if the VIX remains high, meaning high 20s, low 30s, we could be back down to the lows and beyond as soon as next week. Two, if the VIX gets crushed down, meaning lows in the low 20s or back into the teens, it means we have some time and are likely to continue higher to the top of that consolidation range I spoke of, where we could get comfortable for a while. Remember, this consolidation is happening on your larger time frames, monthly and weeklies. But the volatility speeds things up. Moves that usually happen over a month's time are now happening at a week's pace, and moves that usually happen at a week's pace are almost playing out in a day or two. The drop in volatility will slow this down as well, but it doesn't mean that we are back to our regularly scheduled bull market at all. Alright, that was my rant for the morning. Let's get into key levels for the day. And here we have our key levels of the day, starting on the resistance side. Jack resistance will be 431 to the 432 area. Queen resistance is going to be 434 to 436 area. And king resistance is going to be 437 to 440 area. On the support side, we have Jack support at 428 to 427 area. Queen support, we have 426 to 425 area. And King support, we have 423 to 421 area. The main thesis for today is bullish, closing above 425.48 with a projected high or target of 434 to 436. The alternate thesis is bearish, closing below 425.48 with a projected low or target of 426 to 425. The current channel we are in goes all the way up to 453 down to 425. Let's take a look at the scenarios for today. All right, the first scenario is our trend day up day type structure, which shouldn't be any surprise today. We open gap up, start with a fade back towards the previous close. We find support on or before that previous close, then begin the very strong uptrend for the morning. We find midday chop around either possibly the queen or king resistance area. The probability for the trend day playing out is at 50% today. So I would say that is highly likely. Be careful because we have such a big gap up. We can fall a good ways before finding that support on or before the previous close represented by this blue line. So even though it may feel like we are sinking and going back in, until we cross below 425.48, the chances are we are still in pretty much a uptrend day. Let's move on to the next scenario. All right, the next scenario is our rounded reversal day type structure. We could get a continued push higher towards jack or queen resistance area and find our midday chop around either the queen or king resistance area before spending the same amount of energy or same amount of force, I should say, that we took the uptrend within the morning. We could have that same force coming down with the second half of the day. This has a probability of 35%. That is it for the round of reversal. Let's take a look at the last scenario. The last scenario is our expansive range day structure. We could look to set a decision area high boundary around our jack or queen resistance area before chopping lower. We would probably hit support at the jack support, maybe a small bounce before chopping even lower past the previous close. There's a lot of order flow down here at the 425 area, 424, 425 area, where we would likely see a lot of sideways action, and then we could get some type of stalled takeoff back up for the day. This scenario has only a 15% probability. Again, I'd like to reinforce, don't get comfortable. I played out what you should be looking for with the VIX. We're looking for a crush down in volatility. With that crush down in volatility, it is telling you two things. Either way, do not relax, because this is not over. With that, as always, please know and understand your risk. Your capital is the most important thing to you as a trader, so protect it at all costs. And I'll end this with wishing you a positive trading day. Have a great weekend. See you next week.